A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Isn't it an interesting world that we live in at the moment? I mean, so much going on around the world politically with, people sort of ramping up their artillery in case of a war, and everybody sort of jockeying for position saying, no, we're just getting ready in case. And I think it's a very unsettling time for a lot of people because, while this is all going on and then we hear about drones flying in and out of different countries and everybody goes on high alert, and I think it's very unsettling. It's bad enough the war that's going on in Ukraine, and the rest of the world is trying to sort of contribute and help without sort of trying to create a world war. And then you get other countries that sort of turn around and sort of criticise another nation or another country for, building up or beefing up their defence system a little bit in case of a threat. Not necessarily are they looking to pick an argument or pick a war, but they're just trying to sort of have a little bit of self-preservation. So I just sort of feel that the world's in a very tenuous position at the moment, and we all need to be a little bit aware of that. So anyway, let's move on to something much, much more positive and much brighter for the week, and it's the Simply Tarot card of the week, which this week is the Sun card. Now, this is the card of marriage. When I talk about marriage in the tarot, to me it is, the legalised, happily ever after I do type of marriage, whether that's in a church or whether it's in an outdoor setting or a setting of your location. It is the actual part that has the marriage certificate. It's not, the more modern version of just living together and sort of sharing a life together. This is the actual piece of paper commitment. On the secondary meaning of this, which is more likely what's going to suit the rest of the world, is happiness and bright prospects. Now, isn't it nice to see a bright, positive card to sort of say, this next week we might be in line for some very bright, positive, happy sort of things that are coming our way after a long period of time where I think we've had so much uncertainty. And for most of us around the world, this week spells the third year of COVID. This is when the world went to start to go into lockdown, was around about this time 3 years ago. So in some ways it's gone quick, and in other ways it's been the longest 3 years of our existence where our lives did change, and they did change permanently. Yes, we don't walk around with masks on anymore, but our lives did change. So this is a bright positive card, I think, to come out around that anniversary of the world going through change, to sort of say we've got some bright days ahead of us. We've got happiness. We've got things to look forward to. We've got opportunities that are coming our way that we can turn around and say to ourselves, this is where we're meant to be, that, we can have some bright, positive things to look forward to in the coming weeks. So I hope everybody's on board with this, because it's time that we all put a smile on our dial and let's sort of look towards some bright, positive prospects in the coming weeks, the coming months, and turn our back on the negativity and the things that we can't change and just try and make the world a much brighter place. So that's really important, I think, that we focus on brightness and positivity at the moment. Now, going on to the astrology section of the show, we have quite a lot to cover today. We've got Mercury conjunct holding hands the Sun. The Sun's holding hands or conjunct with Neptune. Now, these are making what's known as a very tight orb. In astrology terms, we have a little bit of leeway there that we allow them to hold hands or make configurations or make transits. This one's quite tight. So the planet of communication, Mercury is asking us to really sort of think outside the square here. These three planets are sitting in Pisces. So when they're sitting in an energy like Pisces, which is the 12th sign of the zodiac, some people affectionately call it the dustbin. I don't. I call it the most creative, the most informative, the sign that to me has the most wisdom, because it has the ability to draw on the previous 11 signs and take the best bits out of that and the worst bits as well. But to take that power, to take that opportunity to sort of blend so many different versions or so many different ways of telling the truth or looking at a situation. So there's a lot more power there. So with Mercury sitting here, we have the ability now, I think, to negotiate some really interesting conversations, to get some breakthroughs. And I think what happened in the US in the last couple of days with England, Australia and the US all coming together with an arms deal is a classic example of that, of three major nations all coming together for the betterment of the world. And, not having a slap on your back and have a happy fest, but having a time of very honest communication where they're looking out for each other. It's sort of, a humanitarian sort of opportunity, as well as it is to sort of try and, arm the defences of their nations. But it's working together. And this is what Pisces wants you to do, is to work together, to have some really in-depth conversations, some conversations that are meaningful. For the rest of us mere mortals, that can just be in everyday areas of our life, whether it's with our family, our friends, with our work. It might be things that we need to communicate or look at, things that we've been working on. With the sun still sitting in Pisces, and it's there for about another 8-9 days now, it's coming to sort of into its own, with the energy really sort of intensifying and sort of saying, okay, this is the time where we really do need to take notice of our daydreams, really be conscious of our own mental health, and sort of really focus on the things that are going to bring us some internal happiness. Now, the final part of this configuration, or this stellium of planets, is conjunct Neptune. Now, Neptune actually rules Pisces, so it's in a valuable spot here, where it's adding a sort of a lot more weight to this configuration, where it's saying, yes, we can get some major breakthroughs. Yes, we might have felt like we were walking down a long, dark tunnel and we couldn't find our way out. We couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Well, now we can. So there's some amazing breakthroughs that can sort of happen in your life if you're only prepared to open up, communicate, but more importantly, open up your heart and allow yourself to listen to what the other person's got to say. You can't always be right. There could be some common ground or some ways there that we can find a resolution that everybody's comfortable with. So everything is very possible at this point in time. So why don't we try and make it happen? So that's affecting Pisces people, but it's also affecting all of us in some sort of small way. But more importantly, it's affecting Cancers, Virgos, and Scorpios. So all of those 3 other signs are really feeling the intensity of this stellium. The rest of us, not quite so much. It's sort of like we're just getting the whitewash on the beach. So we now move on to the next part of the astrology section. And I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, that Chiron is conjunct or holding hands Jupiter in Aries. Now, it's really sort of very tight now. It's sort of, Chiron is asking all Aries people to find the way forward, find the ways to heal your life. Use this opportunity to expand it right out. If there's something there that's been troubling you or making you sick, or you've had a health issue, or you've had an emotional issue, or you just haven't been feeling your bright, bubbly self, now's the time to confront this. Expand it right out. Have a good look at it. Turn the light on it. And sort of say to yourself, okay, what can I do? How can I fix this? What is the best that I can see out of this situation? You know, really work with this energy before it passes. You have the ability now to sort of really gain some really good ground. You know, for some people, it may be the expansion of going into a new job, that after dilly-dallying and thinking about it for a while, this is the way to go forward. Some people, it's about really looking after their health, sort of saying, okay, this might seem bigger than Ben-Hur, but I've really got to address this now. I can't keep putting it off. I need to focus on this and make it right, so that you can get a better quality of life. That's what Chiron is here to do, is asking you to heal your life, whether that be emotional, physical, if you're in pain, if you need an operation, if you've been putting off going to the doctor, the dentist, now's the time to do so. Don't ignore this, because now you're going to get the answers and you're going to get the help that's very much needed. We also have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is also sitting in Aries, but it's not making a conjunction to Chiron or Jupiter. But what I want to talk about now with Venus, the planet of love and affection in Aries, is making a really nice flowing aspect to Mars in Gemini, which means that they're approximately 60 degrees apart. So Venus here is asking us to sort of really sort of take centre stage. You know, it's time to speak up about what you really want, particularly in a relationship. If you've been having a few issues, now's the time to sort of gently bring up what you feel needs to be fixed or looked at. Don't put your bombastic hat on. Put your hat on that, you know, look, this is how I'm feeling. I'm wondering how you're feeling. And I know that's hard when an energy's in Aries to sort of turn around and not sort of look at the I, and try and look at the other person. But if you approach it in that way, this is how I'm feeling, I'm just wondering how you're feeling, then maybe we can start to get some breakthroughs. Now, you need to be very careful here. It can be a very positive situation or it can quickly turn negative, depending on the way you approach it. And that's why I'm saying let's go in on the gentle approach, because Mars in Gemini is the planet of action. It's saying, yes, let's come up with some really great ideas. Let's think outside the square. But with Mars here, you've got to be careful, because Mars can flit from one situation to another very, very quickly. It can be very positive one minute and then all of a sudden become very defensive and very warlike the next, and sort of you think, where in the hell did that come from? And that's why I'm saying choose your words carefully. But I think it's also a time that anybody that's in a new relationship that's looking to want to take the relationship to the next level, this is the perfect time for that. For some relationships, they won't stand the intensity of this, but that means that they were probably going to go through changes and maybe even separations anyway. All of this is done is brought it to a head and brought some more honest and open communication. And sometimes I think we really need to be focusing on that, is honest communication. Now, we've still got Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is bringing some sort of stability into our lives, and sometimes in a very, very strange sort of way, that sometimes by decisions that are made, we bring stability that we weren't quite expecting, or that wasn't our main objective, but that's the flow-on effect from making changes in our lives, or, you know, something that's happened suddenly that we weren't in control of, and at first we didn't like it, but it's ended up being for our own good. So be aware of that. It's not just affecting Tauruses, it's affecting each and every sign. So it's a time now to really sort of look around you and see what might be changing and go with the energy. I also want to wrap this up with, we've just got Neptune has just entered the sign of Neptune, I beg your pardon, Saturn's just entered the sign of Pisces. We'll be there for approximately 2.5 years. So Saturn will bring a lot more stability into the Piscean's life at the moment, or the other 3 signs that I spoke about previously. And it's a time there where we can consolidate, we can make dreams a reality, we can bring things to fruition, we can bring about change, and change in a very, very constructive way. You know, you don't have to go and save the world, but you can save your world, and that's what the message is here. We're going to talk with Rosalind in Davenport in Florida. Are you there, Rosalind? Hello, Rosalind.
You know, this is Paulette.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Paulette, I've got Rosalind on my screen, so we'll go with Paulette. Paulette, where are you from, sweetie?
Sandy Springs, Georgia.
Oh, how lovely. Sandy Springs, that sounds like a really beautiful place. So do you have a question nice. I can answer for you?
Yeah, it looks like I lost my job about almost a year ago, and I'm scared of me and my son being homeless. We're in a place where we have no family or anything like that. And I made the majority of the money. My son's been doing the best he can, trying to take care of the both of us. And I don't know what happened to my life. I almost, I'm scared of the future. Right
I can
now,
understand you.
No, I'm just praying a lot.
Okay. Well, look, I can really understand and sympathise with your situation. I mean, it must be very scary, you know, going from a position of having a weekly paycheck to all of a sudden nothing, and nothing sort of coming forward in a 12-month period. It makes you lose your confidence a little bit about, you know, is there really something out there for me? I think it's wonderful that your son has stepped up to the plate and trying to keep everything afloat, so trying to keep a roof over the head of both of you. But I also appreciate that you know he can't do this forever either, and that's not fair on him. He's got to make his way in the world. What I am seeing, Paulette, is that there is change coming, and I'm going to say not necessarily moving from where you are as in out of that location, but changes around you. And the first one of those is I can see some casual work coming. Look, it doesn't seem to me to be very much to begin with. It's a day here or 2 days there, but I actually feel it's going to move into more permanent sort of opportunity there for some regular work. It may not be back to full-time work. It may only be 3 or 4 days a week, but it's more than enough to be able to sort of get you out of this predicament, this situation that you're in at the moment, and start to be able to breathe a little bit easier. Look, I want to say to you, it really wasn't anything that you did wrong at the reasons why you lost your job. I think it was just a set of circumstances that happened and the company couldn't afford to keep everybody on. And unfortunately, your name was the one that came up to be let go of. It wasn't anything against you personally. The other thing that they're showing me, and I don't quite know how to describe this, is there's going to be an opportunity before the end of this year, and you will have an opportunity to move into accommodation that is at a much reduced rate of payment per week than what you're in now. But it's not a government-backed thing. It's sort of like a local authority initiative in some way. It's something that happens locally. It's not a federal thing or a government thing. And this will give you the security then of knowing that the rent that you'll be paying on the property that you're in is fixed or attached to the income that comes in between you and your son. And it's like this is an opportunity for you to really be able to sort of put your roots down and have a place that you're going to call home. And that's good. I feel a lot more settled for you there with this opportunity. I think from here on in, I think things are going to only start to sort of swing upwards for you. Things are going to get better. You're going to sort of feel as if you're back in the driver's seat of your life and life is starting to sort of unfold again. And this is good because you've been through a really tumultuous 12 months where you really didn't know from one day to the next what the future was going to bring or hold for you. So things are certainly on an upward swing now, Paulette. So I wish you and your son well, and you've got a really lovely young man there who really does care for his mum. That's really wonderful to see. So that's where we're going to leave Paulette now. We're going to talk with Evelyn in Visalia in California. Are you there, Evelyn?
I'm here. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes, I would like to know if I will become a mother in 2023. I don't have any children yet, and that's a goal of mine.
I think that's a wonderful goal to have, Evelyn. It's really interesting because answering questions about whether or not you're going to conceive a baby or give birth to a baby is technically one of those grey areas that by different laws in different states and different countries, we're not allowed to talk.
Okay.
What I can do is talk about that I can see you very happy and with a major smile on your face. Now, the only reason I think you'd have this smile on your face that I'm seeing is because you have extremely happy news. Now, that, we can take that as, the news that you asked for, and I think it's probably fairly safe to say that that's what the big smile on your face is going to be. It's interesting because when I look at you on an energetic level, Evelyn, it's not as if there's anything there that I can pinpoint and say, well, this was wrong or that was wrong, or, there was any sort of physical sort of reason why you haven't been able to conceive a baby. I think it's just been, it hasn't been the right time. And a lot of people sort of would look at that answer and say, well, that's a bit of a cop-out. But I've been in this sort of work a very, very long time. And the one thing that I've seen over the years is sometimes we aren't always blessed with the things that we want, particularly babies and things like that at the time that we want it. And, you can go to a doctor, you can have all the tests and they say there's nothing physically wrong with you, everything's right, just, don't panic, go home, relax, it'll happen, when it's meant to. And that, I think, in a sense, puts more of a strain or more of a pressure on you that you start to feel there's something wrong with you. What's lacking in me? Why can't I, produce a baby like every other woman seems to be able to do without thinking about it? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? So I think then we set up a vicious cycle within ourselves, Evelyn, that we're trying to remain positive and we're trying to sort of relax and do all those things. But in the back of your mind is that gnawing little thing, there's got to be something I'm doing wrong. I didn't eat enough carrots, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. And I think the answer is no, that's not the problem here. There's nothing that you've done wrong, sweetie. It just wasn't the right time. And, I'm a firm believer in our lives are mapped out for us before we take our first breath. And where our free will comes in is the decisions or the choices we make when we get to an intersection. Do we turn right? Do we turn left? But if it's not your time on your map to be a mother at, say, 25, well, then you won't be. It's just sort of like sometimes too, I think if we diversify and sort of take up a new job or take up a new hobby or something like that, we break that circuit shifted our energy into something else. And that quite often is enough to take the pressure off, and then we conceive. I've looked on both sides, you know, you and your husband, and I can't see any physical reason there why this hasn't happened. It just hasn't been your turn yet. So my suggestion would be is try not to get upset about it. Try and look at this as a time that, okay, in the next couple of months, I'm going to take up something that I wouldn't have time for if I was a mum. You know, if there's a special hobby or something like that that you can do and you can put your energy into that, I think that will sort of help things along. Was there a period of time in the early part of your marriage where you and your husband weren't ready to have a family?
We had a miscarriage. Well, I had a miscarriage. And initially, I was shocked. And no, we've been wanting to have a family. It's been in the plans, but I was shocked at the fact that I even was pregnant, because I wasn't sure if that was possible.
Oh, okay. Because they were sharing with me an energy there where there was a time there where you weren't sure this is what you wanted, or you weren't ready, or whatever. And that seems to be where you're taking your mind back to as being sort of, is that the cause? And so, you know, I just sort of feel I want to try and get you to relax, but I want to try and put your focus onto something else, you know, something that's going to bring you joy. And I feel by doing that, then I think that's then going to bring about the happy news that the two of you have been looking for. I think your husband's more concerned about you. You know, I know he wants a child, but he's more worried about making you happy, that, you know, he sees the pain in your eyes and he can't fix it, and that makes him upset. So I think, you know, like, I think it's no one's fault. That's what I want to say. It's no one's fault. I do feel that there's going to be some happy news towards the end of the year, and I think both of you are going to be happy, but very cautious about just, you know, not announcing it straight away and just seeing how things pan out. But I think this time's going to be very different. So, you know, don't look at things in a way that, you know, I don't want you to be too rigid. I'm not saying don't watch your diet and your exercise and things like that, but I'm saying don't be fanatical with it, because I think that will exacerbate the situation of you not being able to conceive. I think we need to just let life flow, you know, keep everything as relaxed as possible. You know, yes, be aware of, you know, the eating nutritious food and getting enough fresh air and exercise and things like that, but don't be cranky with yourself if you have a piece of cake. You know, everybody's allowed a little treat every now and then. So if we can sort of change your thinking a little bit like that, I think we're going to change the prognosis, Evelyn, of you being able to conceive a child. And it's interesting because I feel there's going to be more than one.
Oh my. Oh,
not at the same time, but what I'm saying is, you know, like you have one and then you're not really trying for a second one. I think there's going to be the blessing of a second one.
No, that would be beautiful.
Yes, it will be. And that's what I mean. You know, sometimes it's just, who knows why these things happen? You know, they just do. And it's just, you know, sometimes, you know, people sort of say, oh, you're trying too hard. Well, there's no such thing as trying too hard. I think it's just sometimes we are too tense. You know what I mean? Where we want it so badly that we're tensing everything up and not allowing things to just be natural. But I know you're going to be blessed with children. And I really want to be very clear. It's nothing you've done wrong and it's nothing your husband's done wrong. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. It's one of those mysteries that we don't have an answer to. Some people fall easily and other people it takes them, you know, a really long time to achieve the same goal. But I know you're going to be really, really beautiful parents. So take up something that interests you, something that's going to make your heart sing, and that'll get you into a more relaxed state of mind, and not so much take your mind off it, but, you know, put your focus over there, and that'll be good.
Okay. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, same to you, sweetie. It's really interesting when you have people that are trying to conceive babies and things like that, and other people seem to be able to do it very naturally and very easily. No one can ever really explain why, and it's just one of those mysteries of the world. Some people are blessed with more children than they need, and other people can't even have one. So, my heart goes out to Evelyn, but I know she's going to have some happy news in the end. So we've come to the end of the show again. I do apologise for, the vision sort of going in and out a little bit. This week I want to leave you with a bit of a fun song. I just sort of feel we've got to lighten up the mood a little bit. We've all been through so much with COVID and restrictions and so much going on with the potential of wars around the world and what's happening in Ukraine, and politics gets on your nerves, and, you're sick of looking at interest rates and the cost of living. And I thought today we'd take a trip down memory lane and have a really fun song, something that we can all sing along to, and I'll probably put it in your head for the next week and you'll be cursing me. But anyway, better to have a fun song going around your head than something that is a bit too serious. And it's by the Flying Circus. Now, this is really going to test your musical sort of skills and sort of, your musical knowledge over the years. And the song's called Hayride. And I think it's really appropriate, as you guys in the US have just gone into daylight saving and the days are going to get longer with more sunshine. So why not go out and take a hayride? Until next week, bye for now.